This idea of majority minority thinking rules this world. A lot of things happen in our life. What do you consider the exception case? What do you consider the normal case? This rules our world.
Yeah.
And let me explain.
1, 2. Okay, do something, got me ghost bumping in the lot. You gon' prove something, or this dude, what you really taught. This the move, we gon' bring the crew up here to the spot. And I move, I don't wanna lose something that I got. Okay, late night with
Okay.
Hey, what's up?
Do something, episode
6.
6.
More 6. I don't know.
6.
I only know. Wait, how do you say 6 in Hindu? Wait, is Hindu the language?
Hindu.
Or is that the religion? Am I tripping?
Hindi.
I'm sorry. Okay, so Hindi is the language, and Hindu is the religion.
Don't roast me here. I'm struggling. Give me a second.
Okay.
I have to think because I know a little bit of Tamil. I know a little bit of Hindi, and I need to make sure I'm right. Okay, so we got. Shoot. Why am I? Okay.
Being taped on a live audience right now.
So
Shut
ashamed.
up the pressure here, Rohan.
Shoot. I think. Oh no, never mind. I got it right. Okay. Che.
Che.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's Hindi. That's Hindi.
Wait, you went too fast. You went too fast. I didn't get to see like 1, 2, or 3. Here, hold on.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That's super cool.
7, 8, 9, 10.
Nice.
I only know to count. I was like thinking in my mind, that's Tamil, but that's not Tamil. Tamil, I don't even know. So
that would be. I have no idea. Why did I even say that? But I feel like
no. How about I ask you? Yeah.
Yeah.
What would it be in Tamil?
I don't know. Wait, what?
Okay.
And then I only know Japanese until like I think 5, because like one would be ichi, ni, san, shi, go, but I don't know 6. So.
Oh my God! I guess for the 7th episode, you're just gonna have to refresh your skills and get better at the thing.
Yeah.
Where's the camera? I need to look at the camera.
I feel like there's sign language words for numbers, but they're not just like when you hold up your fingers. I feel like there would be that, but I don't really know. So
Morse code.
Sign language, please tell me. Please correct me.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
We have a lot of things we can talk about today.
Yeah, that's true. We've got like a slew of things that we've kind of been sitting on, and today's just kind of a very random day because obviously when we go in with an artist, we kind of know what we want to talk about, or we at least have their music as a jumping off point. But we've already discussed kind of our like musical pursuits enough to the point where it's like there's no discussion needed.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like sometimes we just need those podcast episodes with just us, for that connection, you know.
Just
low key ones, because we just had 2. We had our first guest, and then right after our first guest had another guest.
Yeah,
and so now we're back to
like meaty stuff, like kind of right off the bat, which is not really. Yeah. Well, no, I think it is ideal. Like we obviously want more scripted ones than ones that are just like, oh, what are you guys up to, you know? Or like here's a hot take or something. Speaking of hot takes, you listed out. Should we start with the like hottest, or should we go with just?
I don't know. I mean, no, let's not start with the hottest take because we might not get to that. Maybe that'll be for another.
Or we could just do like we usually do. We just like have it just. Like, what are you up to right now? How's it been?
Yeah. We forgot to ask how's it going. That's the thing.
Yeah.
How has it been though? How has it been? Because
I don't know. I don't know if it's been well, Rohan, because you haven't really been polite with me thus far. It looks like we're starting to forget our basic manners here. I'm just kidding. Hopefully it didn't get too soft spoken there, but whatever. It's been pretty good. I took a run today, and man, running's been great. I love to run, and I love to run in music. But lately it's been getting so repetitive, because I'm in the same spot and it's just the same course over and over again. Like I can choose which kind of sub areas I go to, but it just gets so dusty, and I'm starting to hate it a little bit. But like it's still fun. So, and you've been kind of running too. How's that been going?
It's been good, just running. It's hard.
How's that?
I don't know. It's just hard to running is like for me, one of the hardest exercises, but also really fun. Because when I run outside, I can sometimes catch people that I know, and I'm like, oh shoot, and I'm just running confidently, not confidently, but just out there in front of so many people. It's like, hi there, but at the same time, 6 feet away. So
I get you. No, actually, like kind of the draw too is just, I mean, for me it's a bit different, but there's also the definite draw that by going physically moving yourself around, you're seeing people around as well, and so that's cool too that you can just walk by, or I'm talking about running here, run by somebody and be like, hey, what's going on? Look, I'm being active, you know, and so it's a very cool thing to do. And I get being spurred on by the fact that you might see somebody, because I think I've seen people I know I see them like pretty rarely, honestly, where I run, but it's still really energizing when I do, you know, because I'll go from like moderately tired or like pacing myself to like, you know what, I'm just gonna like kick a little bit extra now just because I have some attention or something like that. You know? So you said before, you said running is like one of the most challenging like ways to exercise for you. Why do you think what do you find challenging?
Just not walking, just like not like switching from running to walking, you know?
Yeah.
Because you get tired and stuff, and just being just stopping, like not stopping is super hard for me.
Totally.
So.
I get that too. When like if you're on a treadmill or something, I don't like treadmills at all. Like I'm very much against. Well, okay, not against them, but like if I have the choice, I'd rather run out in the open, because it means you get to, like you're saying, you get to see people and you have the interaction. You and I are both very like, we're social people. You get to like see how pretty things are outside too. And so like the other thing too is what you're saying is super true. The fact that you can stop at any moment. So when you're on a treadmill, it requires a little bit more willpower. You know, you've got to like lift your hand and press a button. And that's different from immediately subconsciously slowing down, you know? And so I think that's a pretty big draw for me too, is that it takes a lot of willpower to get through it, you know, and to maintain a good pace, because you always have to be aware of putting one foot in front of the other, literally, you know? And like as soon as you start slacking, your pace is literally going to start slowing down too. So there's a lot of pride, I think, to be found in running. But if you like other stuff, that's cool too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a form of exercise. Definitely. I mean, you just got to manage it and you got to do it. And it's important because it helps a lot. And as much as one exercise, like as much as leg day or as much as arm day, running is equally as important. You just have to manage all of them kind of correctly. I was like really hyped when we were going to do this podcast, because I want to talk about like, there's like a lot of stuff that happened, and like specifically runnings happened, but in terms of physical exercise, but like mental exercise, there's been a lot of stuff happening, you know, like recently I've been getting to like watching videos about hypnosis and the effect of hypnosis on people. And obviously there's a lot of myths about hypnosis, like it's not real. There's no way hypnosis works because I don't think I can be hypnotized. But there's a lot of truth to it. And
that's crazy.
I watched this video about this guy, I forgot his name, Zach something, I think. And he's hypnotizing a bunch of celebrities to think this and that. And when they're in that trance state, they're so confident they're right. They're so confident that what they're holding is water when it's actually sriracha. And they drink it like it's water, and they react to it like it's water. Whoa. Senses everything. Don't even notice it's sriracha.
Jeez.
Your brain is. It just shows the power of the brain. Your brain can trick you into believing things. You can be so confident that it can affect all of your senses around it. Yeah. And I think that the whole hypnotism idea can even go into more of a subtle sense. Like we're all hypnotized in a way to believe certain things, like to blindly believe certain things. And that even includes the fact that we're hypnotized to believe that we can't do certain things. We're not powerful enough or good enough to achieve certain things. And we've hypnotized ourselves feel so confident about it. And I think that's one of those experiences that when you go through a hypnosis, you realize that everything's not as solid and
real as you would like to think. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's a great thing. And I mean, I've never done this, but I've heard about people talk about this through LSD, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. You believe a structure of life to be true, but after you take something like LSD, which I'll clarify I haven't taken, once you take something like LSD, I've heard that it changes your perspective on things, and you completely reach that situation where you're like, wait a second, this
I mean, it's like just
reality that I sense.
Period, to think that your mind is so easily changed, you know, because it's just a bunch of chemicals floating around.
Yeah.
There. It's like, then we start to get into questions like, is reality real? How real am I if I'm just experiencing things through a brain? Is my brain hooked up to something else?
Well, I think that's a little bit too far. Like that's a situation where you get into a mental position that's not going to really help you much.
Hypothetical there, but if we're talking real world stuff, you're definitely. You have
to basically understand that anxiety, depression, all of these things.
We're not going to go that far. We're going to say
anxiety, depression, all of these things are caused by you.
Yeah.
And that I'm not necessarily saying it's like their fault, but it's caused by you. And
then that's another question, right? Where are you, right? Is it your brain that makes you? Is it your body that makes you? Where do you find this center of self? It's just
you choose. You choose to define who you are, I think.
Yeah.
That's my personal.
But okay. I'm gonna ask you this, okay? You've got let's say you've got 4 different places where you could put your center of self. So say your center of self is around would you say your center of self is around your feet, around your knees, around your heart, or around your head? Where's your center of self?
Heart.
Your heart. Most people answer that, and most
head.
People answer either heart or head, and it's crazy because obviously that's where you have your most valuable organs. But they say like the way you answer that actually defines a lot about your character. I can't remember like what it means.
I don't know if I really believe those, like the way you answer this one question gives me so much about yourself.
Yeah. I mean, even so, though, it kind of shows a priority, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I feel like if you think hard about it, I guess the reason I would call myself my personality instead of my body, because like even if I were in a different body, I think do you see what I'm saying? Like, I think it would still be me even if I was in a different body with the same personality. Yeah. And so that's why I think my true center of self would be my head. But if I were asked to just like put a dot on a chart, it would be over here, which is weird, right? Isn't that kind of strange?
Yeah. That sense of self is just an understanding of where you are. And for something like hypnosis, it kind of reveals that what do you truly value to be true, and what do you truly value to be false. So I don't know. The whole experience maybe just opened my eyes, because if that person can change someone's perspective, then I can definitely change my own perspective about things. And I can definitely, in a way, and he talks about it all, you can self-hypnotize yourself to break bad habits. And of course, it's not that easy, but it requires a lot of trust and a lot of association. I mean, the whole hypnosis program still requires trust. I mean, that's the number one thing. People can't relax, but I don't know. That was just very eye-opening, because it showed how much you can do if you have control over yourself. And that's what my lifelong goal is in life. At least at this point in time, me being 17 years old, is to have that control over my life and be able to say, if I can do something, I do it. If I need to get something done and I say I'm going to get it done, then I get it done. If I tell myself I'm going to get something done, I'm going to get it done. Yeah. Like that whole, because I procrastinate a lot, right? I've been getting better at it, but I still procrastinate a lot. But taking away that procrastination would require me having a lot of respect for myself and the work that I'm doing. And I don't know how I'm going to reach that state, but that's my goal. And this hypnosis thing just opens your eyes to how much you can do.
Sure. Yeah.
Because like, what if you think, what if I can instead of what if I can't?
Yeah.
and you get that ingrained into your mind. That anxiety can go away. That anxiety can at least you can get yourself into a relaxed state where you can take that away, and that's what that's what this that's what the hypnotist shows. I
Yeah.
think.
But I think you're right. I feel like people actually have a lot more control over their self than they think. But it just takes kind of practice and self-awareness, I feel like, right? Because obviously, if you know what, well, beyond your likes and dislikes, if you know what you're drawn to naturally, then you can kind of set things to protect against it or to bolster it or something like that. For example, like I think you actually have this, you're kind of almost hypnotizing yourself. This is an example of this. You have your water bottle out a lot. Like I feel like I might have even mentioned this before on the podcast too, but just by having it out and seeing with it, yeah, you're automatically, or just talking about it, right? But because you see it around, you're kind of almost training yourself to drink it more. And
Yeah.
hypnosis actually, I don't even want to just call it hypnosis because that's only one kind of like mind control or like mental regulation, I guess you could say. I don't know the more abstract, but we'll call it that. But I think another example of that also is that people will experience more pain when they're expecting it. You know what I mean? Like if you see
When you don't want to get a shot
yeah,
and you're gonna get a shot.
you'll resonate with it more, or not resonate with it more, but like you'll feel it more. And it's crazy too that there have also been studies that when you swear, it's supposed to actually take away pain, like in your brain. And that kind of freaks me out because it means that people have been basically socially controlled to have these words that actually like relieve pain. Like those words could be anything, but people have almost been hypnotized or mind controlled or whatever to the point where it actually does kind of relieve pain. That's crazy to me, you know?
Yeah, a
But
lot
we're
of
getting
things.
in a good like topic area because I kind of wanted to talk about, okay, I don't know if we didn't actually have this planned, but we could talk about like mental disorders and stuff like that. I mean, that
Ooh,
would be,
we could. I honestly don't know much about it. I think I'd be pretty ignorant speaking
yeah.
about it.
I mean, I don't know much either. I mean, obviously, if you guys have any emails or anything, you could just like email us or just like add us and
Yeah.
like, tell us if we're in the wrong about anything. Um, but I do,
I'll hear what you're saying though.
yeah,
I like
yeah.
it.
I do kind of want to get into like ADHD just because I have it, and then we know friends. We've got a lot of friends that have it as well, and so I think that that journey of self-discovery and like awareness to the point where you can control yourself better is really important, but especially for people who have ADHD, because there's this thing called hyperfocus where you'll have like one, I guess, what's something you do every day that you don't really want. Sometimes you find yourself not wanting to do it, but you do it anyway.
Meditation.
Meditation. Oh, well, I mean something like you do out of habit, but something that might be bad for you if you do it too long.
Oh, if I do it too long.
Yeah.
So something I do every day.
Mm-hmm. That you might not necessarily want to do, and it doesn't really do anything good for you, but you just find yourself caught up in the act of doing it. Maybe
Instagram, I guess.
Yeah.
Spending too much time on there.
Yeah, that's the easiest.
Like I need to spend time on there like a certain amount every single day so I can market myself and keep people updated and respond to messages. But sometimes I find myself on there a lot, way more than I need to. And sometimes, yeah, I find myself like just eternally looking at things when I'm not like looking at it for any purpose. And whenever I get caught up in that, I just try to break out of it as soon as possible.
I feel you. And like, definitely, I think, and from what I've seen too, is that comes very easily to people with ADHD. They'll get into this like hyper focus, almost a hypnosis of sorts, of they're kind of like enthralled by something. I guess I feel like I use iTunes more, but I guess for me, I could say the same thing, just going through Instagram or going through YouTube or something like that, or like playing video games. I'll find myself in just this rhythm that it's just so hard to break out of. And the normal person, I don't even want to say you, or I guess the neurotypical person, that's the lingo that they use, I think. But the neurotypical person would be a bit more self-aware about that. But people with ADHD are just we're very like, I don't want to generalize also, because everybody's experience with ADHD or any mental disorder is different between everybody. But I guess for me, it's just, it's so easy to get wrapped up in that sort of thing and to lose yourself. And I find myself like, I don't really want to do this. I don't want to be like looking at my phone all the time. This is boring. I don't get anything out of it. But
It's just, yeah, social media is
know.
also designed to be very addictive.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
what it is, like in general, just looking at this phone and looking at the interface for Instagram. There's so much going on. Red, if they didn't use red for the notifications on Instagram, then it would not be as addictive. Red is the most addictive color for that.
Man.
If they made it blue, nah, no one would care as much. Those simple, I'm dead serious. It's those simple things. They've designed the interface to be extremely addictive. And the explore page, if they didn't want it to be addictive like that, then they wouldn't make it personalized.
You're right, but I think the best example of this is TikTok. Undoubtedly TikTok is the best at interface hypnosis, you know, because you can just, from what I've seen, I don't even have it, man. Like a lot of this stuff is just, I don't want it. It's just going to get me more wrapped up. But from what I've seen, and you can correct me, you actually have it. But you can just keep scrolling as well. There's no real need to refresh it or anything like that. And then there's no real way to kind of control the content you consume on there, because it's just through hashtags and recommendations or like topic-based stuff.
There's a For You page where it recommends things. But the thing about TikTok that I'd say makes it extremely addictive is because the content is extremely short. The content usually comes with music, and the content comes with flashy words, fast. So when you're scrolling on TikTok, you're looking and they have like suddenly a clip that's only like 15 seconds, but they have music in it. They have words everywhere. They have all this like engaging, colorful words and everything. How could you not watch it? And then you scroll down and keep on going.
Exactly. And then you find yourself 3 hours later, it's dusk out. Like what?
Yeah, but TikTok is only 15 seconds to 1 minute per piece of content. Yeah. So it's super fast, and Instagram is slower in terms of content. Like you can
agreed for sure.
But it's really weird because we have low attention spans, and I'm saying, you said you had as someone with ADHD, you have a low attention span, but companies are capitalizing off of that because that's how they create the money. They're capitalizing off a weakness of this generation, and in turn making the generation more weak because the content is going to get shorter and shorter. New company capitalizes off 10-second attention span. We go from 10 to 8. The new company capitalizes off 8-second attention span until we don't have any attention span.
Yeah, until we don't have one. Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like we're starting to get into like, is this intended or something like that? But I think it was intended to make it easier to consume content. But now you're right. People just don't have it. So I don't know if that's what the company's intended. I don't know if they have some like MK Ultra stuff going on behind the scenes. But what I do know is I've expressed this concern with a few of my friends that I don't really want it because I'm just going to get it. Like, it's going to be so easy to lose time to it. And we even have mutual friends that have talked to us. Or, I mean, I think we do have mutual friends that have talked to both of us that have said TikTok is addicting, you know? And how many times have you heard it? Just heard the phrase, TikTok is addicting.
I still think Instagram is more addicting, but that's just because I use it more, and my platform, my business, my music is all in there more. But I can see where people get there. I understand that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
definitely. It's all a matter of realizing that I think that what I meant earlier when I was saying I want to have control is also just like having purpose in everything I do. If I want to enjoy, I want to have that enjoying for a purpose, not enjoying just sitting there like, what am I doing, right? Yeah. If I'm on TikTok scrolling.
We want to, like, the good thing is you want to be invested in stuff that's really actively giving back to you. When you
Yeah,
browse,
and like
just
that purpose, like I'm doing this for a reason. The reason
Mhm.
I've been able to cut down on Instagram usage a little bit is because every time I try to make it so every time I'm on that platform,
Mhm.
there's a purpose. Like I'm gonna post. I'm going on Instagram to post something about something, a new single or something like that. I'll go on Instagram to engage with followers,
Mhm.
specifically engage with maybe like, I don't know how many followers, but a certain amount, like
Mhm.
a specific number, and then
Yeah,
I
X
get
amount.
out. But if I'm vague, then it's just gonna open up opportunity for chaos. And Jordan Peterson actually talks about this, and I was reading the book today. How you need to be precise with what you say, because if you don't, it opens up so much, and it makes it so there's so much chaos could emerge,
Mhm.
because you could get distracted, all this kind of stuff. And he applies it to many different concepts, but
Mhm.
distraction is one of them.
Mhm. That's super true though, especially in regards to communication, because if you're not clear about things and you don't set specific goals, you can even be communicating with yourself and not know what goals you're going to accomplish. And then, like I said, you find yourself wasting 3 hours. You wake up, out of a trance, and you're like, oh, it's dusk. What am I doing? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the same thing is completely applicable to an individual who has ADHD. It's very easy to find themselves wrapped up in doing something without a goal, because they're just,
Mm-hmm.
I guess the goal is just to be entertained. But like you were saying, because the idea
That's
of
vague.
so broad, it's so vague. What does that mean? It doesn't have
Be entertained? Will one video make you entertained? Will 10
exactly.
videos make you entertained? Will
Or
3 hours of watching
hours of
make you
months.
entertained?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's actually really good advice that I'm probably going to take. Just have specific goals when you're using each one of these apps that you find
Mm-hmm.
drain so much time. Because I think,
Maybe I'll
yeah.
check all my DMs. That's
Mhm.
it. Then I'll leave.
And then, like you're saying, it gives you kind of a flashlight almost, or a better analogy is the lighthouse that you can walk to, right? You
Mm-hmm.
just know you have to keep walking towards the lighthouse, and you'll get there eventually. Maybe you'll take a detour, but you still have the central goal. And once you get
Mm-hmm.
to the lighthouse, you don't need to worry about getting to the lighthouse anymore. So that's actually
Exactly.
super, super good advice. And I think that's kind of part of the reason why I like running as well, because it focuses it down to I'm just going to get from point A to point B, and
Exactly.
I'm just going to do my best to get there.
You'd probably stop if you were pointlessly running.
Exactly. Like the point is just
The
to run.
motivation is it's going to end. And that's also with people who have addictive habits.
hmm
Like if they knew that if they quit something forever,
hmm
right? They'd easily go back to whatever they were addicted to, because
Yeah.
there's no end goal. But once you see that end goal, it makes things a lot easier.
Yeah.
So just being precise in things is very, very important. And
Mhm.
I think another thing that we talk about, like, what's another reason, Robert, why you might scroll on Instagram or play video games a lot more than you want to?
To
Is
definitely forget
when
about
you
the
have an assignment to do, but you don't do that assignment.
yeah.
Why is that?
We've got problems you want to escape. Yeah. Just because it's difficult to achieve that goal. So you
Exactly.
set a be entertained goal, and then
Let me break down the logic of the year. Not Logic, the one who's dropping an album, but
Mhm.
the logic of the year. This is
Mhm.
crazy. This is crazy. Okay, let's break it down, okay? There's stuff in our life that we don't want to do,
Mhm.
and we see it as a dragon. It might not be a dragon. It might be a squirrel. And Jordan and Mr. Peterson talks about this too. It might be a squirrel, but we see it as a dragon because it's so vague.
Mhm.
Because it, like, we haven't planned. We have a paper to write, for example. Because I am definitely in this position right now. We have a paper to write, and that paper looks like a dragon because it's not specific. I have a paper to write. Like, where do I start? I have a paper to write, right? But every time I start planning something or breaking it down, it turns away from that dragon into what it really, really is. Now, it might still be hard. It might be difficult, but it's still probably not as difficult as we imagine it to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, it's definitely, with that mentality, it's impossible for it to be more difficult than we think.
Yeah.
Because as long as we break it down,
You're specifying it a bit
and
more.
break it down, and
Yeah.
when you break something down like that, it becomes what it actually is. But how do you have the confidence to break it down like that? How do you have the confidence to take your feet and step in the deep water and actually realize what you're really dealing with? How do you do it?
You gotta just do something. You gotta just go at it, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Love that. Yeah, and that's what
Why do you think this freaking song means so much?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, like Roland's saying, I think for me, it's definitely been, I guess I haven't really been open about my, like, I have struggled with ADHD before. Like, it's hard, you know, procrastinating comes so easy sometimes. And so that idea of perfectionism is it comes back to haunt you, you know? And so at the end of the day, just taking a step forward to achieve, to do goals. I mean, I know it sounds cliche, but just by making goals, it makes a reality that you can kind of work towards. It gives you something to work for. Like you said, it gives you a purpose. You know, you've got something to do. So you just have to take a step towards that direction and slowly achieve it. And that's still something I need to work on, you know, because right now I don't really have, my goals aren't specific. I want to make them more specific. I guess the best, or I guess the closest that I have to that is just to keep running and to keep seeing my speed get faster, because I'm running on the same course with the same obstacles. And so I'm just trying to slowly get that time down as much as possible. I guess that's the most abstract goal I guess you could have, but it's something that at least keeps me rooted, even though I might not have other clear goals in other respects, and that led to me dropping things off. I still have something that I'm working towards.
Now here is one lesson that I feel like is so important. So important. The small steps thing you brought up. A small step is still a step. That is such an important idea you don't even understand. If you have 5 minutes of spare time to work on but you have a paper due soon. 5 minutes before you have to leave somewhere and then go back or whatever. But you have 5 minutes in the day where you don't know what to do with stuff. You're thinking, man, I can't spend 5 minutes for a paper. That's not enough time. So instead of spending 5 minutes on that paper, you do nothing. You kill time.
Yeah.
But
well,
every bit of time is important. And we only have a limited amount of time on this earth, right? So killing time, and I think Zach, whatever his name is, because I can't pronounce it, Zach Pin something. Give me a sec. Zach Pin Since, that's the hypnotist, talks about how killing time is an example of micro suicide. You only have a certain amount of time in this life, and by having time with no purpose, that is in a way killing yourself slowly. Now, I'm not saying you have to work on that paper, but living life without a purpose, whether that purpose be to enjoy in that specific moment, to be to work in that specific moment, to bond in that specific moment, living life without a purpose,
that's really
the worst kind of living.
Yeah.
Right? So all the time that you try to live all your time with purpose. Right? So if you have 5 minutes spare time, use it to work on something or enjoy something, but don't use it thinking about what you're trying to do.
That's true. Yeah, right? Thinking about, another thing too is that
because when you're thinking about something, you need to think too, but like when you're just overthinking.
Totally. But hold on, I'm not done yet. Though. It's very easy to get caught up in a fantasy of what you want to see done. And in a way, when you focus on that too much and you start building it up, it's like you're kind of building it up in your mind, but you're not building it up in a real way. You know, you're not really doing anything to make it corporeal, physical, something you could touch, which is a huge issue. And like, obviously, like I've been saying, something I need to work on too is to just be realizing stuff more, because I'd rather see it realized than just something nice to think about. You know what I mean? It's just,
then it becomes that dragon.
And then the other thing too is that it ends up hurting you as well when you start to build up this idea so highly, right? And you've got a very like nuanced fantasy or something like that of being successful or whatever. How can you possibly compare that to a reality in which you haven't built anything, or you built
Dragon.
like middling? Yeah, exactly.
It's that giant dragon that you can't comprehend how to take apart.
And
It's
it's
not a
because
bunch
you
of square.
built it yourself. A lot of people,
Exactly.
it can be built for you, but a
So in
lot of
order
the
to
time,
break it, you have to break yourself.
yeah. And you've got to make sure you're spending time realizing and building up at the same time. I mean, it's good to have a vision, and it's also good to have momentum in the real world. You know what I mean? And so having both sides, I guess, the dream plane, we could say, and the real plane, it's important to have both built up equally. You know, you can't just spend time building one. I mean, maybe reality is a little bit better than fantasy. and that goes against what I said before. But obviously you want to keep it pretty balanced as you can.
Definitely. It's just, and this can apply to success. It can apply to relationships, building up a fantasy of what you think your relationship is or you think it should be, and being disappointed at the end. Like this can apply to so much things. I think it's just the result of us overthinking, and overthinking can be good sometimes, but I mean, if you have my level of overthinking, it can produce a lot of very anxiety-inducing situations.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen you definitely roll over stuff in your head, and you'll be like sitting there for like a long time, just
like
thinking about it.
Even now, like,
bro, you got to snap out of it. Like, this is in the past now. You got to focus on what you're gonna do next time this situation comes up or something.
Even now, like even with this podcast, I'll be listening to someone, like even during this episode and stuff like that. I'll hear one sound and I'll be like, oh shoot, how do I edit this one out after the podcast finishes? Oh
yeah,
wait,
yeah.
Oh, should I change the microphone? Should I change this? And that even happened in the beginning of the episode. Luckily, that was warranted. But it happens even when I'm doing this, and it's hard to just live in that moment. And like even now, like the viewer, I'm gonna look right in the camera. You can look right in the camera too. I'm gonna look right in the camera. Let's stare right at you.
Yes.
In this moment in your life, we are all in this moment together. Think about how crazy this is. We are all in this moment together with our whole lifespan, with all of the civilization. We are in this moment together. This is immortalized, this moment. And will forever be a part of your life because you were a part of this moment.
Yeah. And maybe it might not be a really big part of your life, but we're still here in your memory, And then that actually, we could talk about, oh man. So you ever think it's kind of weird how, like you're saying, when the viewer sees this is a past version of myself now. What's being shown to the viewer right now, it's not, is it still me anymore? Because it's a past version of myself that might be recounting a different thing. In the future, I might gain a different experience and completely disagree with what I'm saying now.
It's too complex of a thing. At the end of the day, I've thought about that too. At the end of the day, a lot of experiences happen in your life. You choose to define who you are. Yeah. You choose to define who you are, and that relates to freaking everything. That brings everything back full circle. That actually transitions perfectly because there's a lot of things, like a winner could lose, or someone could lose 3 times and could say, oh, they're a loser. Someone could lose 3 times and say, oh, they're a winner. They just had bad luck for the first 3 times.
Yeah. It's all about
this idea of majority. Oh my God. This idea, let me snap for a second.
Oh man.
This idea of minority thinking rules this world. A lot of things happen in our life. What do you consider the exception case? What do you consider the normal case? This rules our world. And let me explain why. Think about political parties. Let me get into this real quick.
Here we go.
Someone who supports a president. The president does wrong stuff. That's minuscule in their mind compared to all the good stuff they did. Even though the amount of bad and good could be equal, and that too is subjective. And another presidential candidate the amount of stuff they did wrong could be the majority to someone, could define their whole persona for someone, and the good stuff they did as the exception.
Yeah.
Exactly what's happening with Trump right now, and people automatically are hypnotized to choose one side or the other side, and then whatever supports it is the majority, whatever doesn't support it is the minority.
Yeah.
Like people will say, Trump was just mean in that case because he was just having a bad day, or the media was trying to go against him. Like they have so much empathy amount for him, and someone else will be like, someone will say the same thing for another
thing. Empathy, like in and of itself, is not a bad thing, but you obviously
selective
need
empathy
to be mature enough to be in the middle. You can't be like, because as soon as it feels like you're picking sides sometimes. You know what I mean? Like choose all the good stuff or choose all the bad stuff. In reality, you've gotta take the whole thing. Like I've heard conversations about Biden, right? And obviously he's not the best, right? But it's important to see both sides of what's going on.
Exactly. And someone will some people will take the fact that he's not the best and run with it and say that is the majority, and some people say that the good stuff he does is the majority, and then the whole
have an argument. You cannot have an argument without considering both sides. Then you're not arguing anymore.
And the big thing that I've realized is if someone shoves a study in your face and says, because this happened for this one specific situation, which is what a study is, it observes a specific point in time in a specific location and with specific data results. That is not going to determine or change anything, because these issues are so complicated that one study cannot define things, 2 studies cannot define things, 3 studies cannot define things. It all depends. When it's such a complex issue like the president, when it's such a complex issue even immigration and stuff, studies are simplistic reflections, and in the end life is way too complicated for a study to be able to define things. That's why inherently we have to be hypnotized in order to create anything done. We have to be hypnotized in order to make any decision, because life is way too complicated. So just don't ever feel bad. Here, let me finish this real quick. Don't ever feel bad because if someone shoves a study in your face, that doesn't mean they're right at all. Okay? Because life is too complicated. Don't feel bad just because one study doesn't change, because that one study doesn't change anything. And all of these issues are dealt with millions of people, if not billions of people. So one specific location, or at least 10 or even 100 studies.
One study could.
There's a bunch of studies on both sides, and it's up to you to decide what you align with based on you. And in the end, it's such a complex issue that no one's right and no one's wrong. And don't let anyone ever tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you could be in the wrong if you're just not informed enough. If your perception of right and wrong is in the wrong place, if that makes sense. But to what you were saying earlier, I think you're right about studies and how they affect people. Like obviously a study can't reflect the specific nuances of a person's life, but in regards to other things, like I guess animals, other trends, astrological trends, astronomical. Not astrological. Wait, is that right? Okay, never mind. Planet movement. That's better. Planet movement, yes, studies can help with that. But when we're talking with people, sometimes we're not at that level yet. I feel like we're still working on it, and like we have models for people and behavior and stuff. But people are very, very nuanced, and so I think it's going to take more work in that regard to see where we go. Man, there was something I was going to bring up, but I forgot what it was. We were talking about politics and party stuff, argumentation. No, I lost my point. It's fine.
I just want to drive that into the ground, like drive that point into everyone's head, because no one's completely right, no one's completely wrong. And people can say, oh, they're speaking for the facts. No, the facts are way too complicated. So it's literally up to you. And we're all making irrational choices when deciding complex issues, because we have to generalize things to ever make a decision in life. So
and part of that generalization that I find so harmful is when you start demonizing or stereotyping people. I hate that, because it's just you're subjecting a group to something that it's a caricature of them, you know? And I don't really like, I mean, I can't really get behind the political, sometimes I find them funny, but I can't really get behind political cartoons that like vilify people or just really just make a
Exactly.
seem terrible, because
Life is way too complicated.
you know.
Life is way too complicated.
Mhm.
The thing that I think we should ask for more than anything else
Mhm.
in this world, that we need more than anything else that Gary Vee's talked about during these situations, is one word.
Is it empathy?
Empathy. Empathy.
Let's go.
Life is way too complicated. These situations are way too complicated for political parties and everything, for someone to say someone else is just bad, the other person's good. This study shows it or this study doesn't show it. You cannot make these generalizations. You have to make in a way to stay alive and stay sane, but they're not that. You have to recognize they're not.
Situation, you know, by understanding their context better,
Yeah.
then you start to make judgments about them. How can you judge somebody?
You have to find the context, but you have to make decisions in life for political things, and those decisions are never 100% right.
Mhm.
They are irrational. You have to accept that you know there's no right decision for this type of stuff.
I don't want to say they're
know,
irrational, but like there's certain
not irrational. Sorry.
Yeah, there's certain sides you have to, I guess, listen, or not sides you have to listen to more,
but because of that, you have to recognize that the other side has a point in a way, and even with that, both sides need to recognize it, and both sides need to be completely open-minded, and you have to have empathy for that other side, because if you see someone else who's a different political opinion than you, they grew up a certain way. Maybe, like, how did they get that political opinion? Was it from their family? Was it from their experiences? Maybe they had different experiences that led them to make different conclusions than you.
And the crazy thing is, those other people have stereotypes of other people as well. You know, everybody didn't have that abstract level of thinking. And it's just, it comes naturally to us. It's easy to us.
Political decisions are all generalizations, so no political decision is 100% true. Every political decision is flawed to an extent. Right? So based on people's value systems, based on their current experiences, they decide which political decision is the least flawed. But in the end, you have to realize that a lot of it is just human judgment that is very subjective based on our experiences. And because it's so complicated and so screwed up, everything, like everything's all over the place. The only way I think that this could be even solved is empathy. So if we have empathy for each other, then we can understand more things, and we can understand where that person went from. Instead of it's a journey, right? They had this. It led them to become a Trump supporter, for example. I'm just using Trump for this. They had these three experiences. You directly attack the fact that a Trump supporter, that's not going to do anything. You have to backpedal. How did they get there? Like Robert said, how did they get there? And then realize, and this can apply to both parties, are they really supporting this president because the president, or a specific experience? Now target that experience. How did that experience make them feel to get them to where they are here? And so in the end, they might,
as they have those experiences, those color their next experiences they have, you know. And there's a theory, Pygmalion theory, is when you start to act based on a stereotype you have, and that actually reinforces the stereotype, right? Like, let's say you're a basketball coach, right? And you have a person that reminds you of somebody you really like enjoy spending time with, and you have somebody who reminds you of a slagger, right? So you might start to subconsciously treat them differently, and because of that different treatment, the star player, the person you thought would be like good and that you like more, ends up like playing better, and the other person you end up degrading a little bit too much and ends up not. And so I think inherently, just when you start to demonize and abstract things, when you start to really attack another person, you're missing so much there, and you're actually reinforcing the other side attacking you back.
Way too complicated.
Of just breaking it down and trying to understand another perspective. Not all arguments have to be arguments, you know. Sometimes it's better to just have a discussion and just understand somebody else, you know. Not trying to change.
Life. The biggest lesson I learned was, like, and I said it a few times, but I want to say it in the clearest way I can. Life is complicated, way too complicated. In order to be sane, we need to make generalizations and decisions based on those generalizations. Therefore, based on our experiences, these generalizations are going to be different than other people's generalizations. However, we must have empathy for these generalizations because it's a complicated world and different experiences lead different people to think different things.
Yeah.
So to sort all this chaos, the only order in this world that's needed is empathy. That's all. That's where I stand.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. I mean, I actually wanted to talk about, you brought up Trump supporters, but I think, I guess an example for me would be people who work in MLMs. We talked about MLMs in a previous episode, if you've seen it. But you can watch it if you want. I'm just going to assume the viewers know what an MLM is at this point, but there's a lot of people who would be like, oh, it's a pyramid scheme for sure. But there's also a lot of bright people that get roped in there, and they have, you know, they have their minds changed, you know, and they have those stereotypes kind of changed by the people within the company, you know, to benefit that company, right? So your reality is changing because you're spending time with people who have a different model than you, and that's pretty scary too. That
Exposure is the
you have a really bright person there. It doesn't, even if the person you think is smart, they can still be misled.
exposure is the key to solving ignorance. And like you're saying, having access to those people is automatically going to make you think things differently. Excuse me. I think that's a great way to conclude, honestly.
I think we're pretty set. You got pretty in your bag there. It's pretty amusing.
I mean, yeah, this is like crazy life lessons I learned just through experience.
Yeah, but definitely goals
empathy is
really important. And oh shoot, actually, one more thing that I gotta say also. Something that I kind of had that was sort of an epiphany. Can't speak. An epiphany to me was that you know how they say one man's trash is another man's treasure. Like that's a cliche thing. But another thing too is if you think of that morally, like something I do that might seem really small to me could mean something completely different to you morally speaking. Right? But because the way I perceive it, it doesn't seem that substantial until it's viewed through your eyes, right? And so that kind of, okay. But it's just that it's crazy to me. It's surreal to me, the fact that you will do something towards your moral code that will seem so small to somebody else, but to you it might mean so much because of the morals you have. You know, I guess a great example of this would be for if you're trying to advocate for rights in a small, or not advocate for rights, but advocate for, I guess, pronouns. Pronouns are really important, but I guess somebody who doesn't really have affiliation or understanding to the LGBTQ plus scene doesn't really know what they mean and doesn't really think they matter. But I guess to the people that really support them, it means so much morally to respect somebody's pronouns. You know? Crazy. It's crazy.
Definitely. So yeah, be kind out there, and have respect for, or just that's actually sometimes too much to ask for certain situations, but have empathy.
Just be willing to listen to the other person's story. You don't have to like it, but it's what worked for them. You don't have to understand it, but you know, you can still appreciate it. You know,
life's too complicated for us to be mean.
Yeah, I like that. You should get that monogram on the pillow. Just take up sewing.
On a pillow.
Yeah, do
it.
Hey,
I might. That might be my famous quote. Who knows? Nice. But yeah. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'm really liking the direction this podcast is going. We're going through crazy stuff, but we're gonna really take it out from here, and I'm really happy where things are going. And you're along for the ride.
One of our more experimental videos, for the most part unplanned, a little bit rocky, but I'm glad we ended on a very positive message to, you know, set goals and to be empathetic to others, even though you don't know their context. So take that in stride, viewers. It's always a pleasure having these. Is that it? I guess.
Always.
Always.
Okay. See y'all.